My name is Adrian Sudbury. I'm 26 years old. I'm a reporter for the Huddersfield Examiner. I was fit and healthy. I was, like a normal sort of guy, really, just doing a sort of normal job. Then suddenly just got really tired, really run down. I was picking up infections really easily. I couldn't shake these off. The next day I had to drive myself into A&E because I didn't know what else to do. And they could see obviously something was wrong. Did some blood tests, and that was it. I was up onto the haematology ward in Sheffield, and unfortunately, in November 2006, I was diagnosed with 2 types of leukemia, which I've been fighting since. Today, I had another bone marrow sample taken, and the one before that revealed that a bit of leukemia had come back. So it's a case of today now, the waiting game, and finding out have we achieved a remission, or are we sort of still seeing progressive cancer? And if the cancer's come back, obviously the prognosis is not so good. It was kind of like sort of my little world collapsed, really. It was like a real sort of punch in the face because things have been going so well before, and you realise you're going to be on a ward. Of course, you see all those sort of bald heads and all that sort of stuff you saw on telly before about chemotherapy, and suddenly it's not something I'm writing about, a story I have to write about for the newspaper. It's happening to me, and I realise I'm going to be there for sort of at least 5 or 6 months. And it's an absolute nightmare. During that time you reassess and you sort of think to yourself, what's important to me? And I think for me it was very much your family and your sort of friends and how important those sort of relationships are. You sort of really sort of think, God, this is what really matters. Careers are important, but these relationships are incredible. I think after going through a disease like leukemia, you sort of appreciate every day you're around a lot more. That matters a lot. So I can remember sort of before all this started, even though I had a job I really liked, you get sort of ground down by it sometimes. You wake up, you're like, go to work, go to the gym, come home, have a bit of tea, get to bed. And it's sort of, you're almost sort of sucked into a sort of quite a mundane existence. Now I think you've got to sort of think, well, it's not really like that. You've got every day, and it's a great thing to be here. Let's see what we can do to make it as interesting as possible. Sounds a bit daft, but I'd love to go and play football at Wembley. I'd love to do that. I used to play football quite a lot. I was no good, but I used to love the sport, and it'd be great to take a sort of group of my friends down and sort of play, under that huge arch I've seen on telly so many times now. Again, it sounds a bit geeky, but I used to quite like trains when I was a kid, and I'd love to go on the Orient Express. I'd love to see that, and sort of travel sort of, across that sort of part of the world in that sort of style. I'm not a big petrol head, but I've got a bit of a soft spot for Aston Martins, and if there was any chance of sort of getting into sort of that sort of car just for a day or so, that'd be ace. I'd love that, sort of rag it around a bit and sort of really push it. That'd be brilliant. Don't know why. I'd love to meet the Queen. She sort of always reminds me of my grandma, and she's unfortunately died sort of 3 years ago. But I don't know. I think she's just an interesting person, a fascinating person. But last year and stuff, you sort of really sort of stop and think about who matters in the world, and a lot of celebrities don't contribute in any way whatsoever, and they're frankly quite tedious, and some of the stuff you see them sort of talking about and whinging about, it's like shut up and get on with things. I would really like to sort of settle down and have a family on a sort of more serious note. That's always been something that's very important to me, and perhaps to sort of try and move forward with that would be something that would mean a lot. You view life slightly differently, and what matters are the relationships you have with other human beings, and you think, yeah, I'm actually very lucky to have so many good friends who have supported me, and it'd be great to sort of carry the relationships on and get out about and sort of go to town and do the sort of things we used to do, and really appreciate it. I think everyone's going to die, you can't sort of escape that fact. My life expectancy is reduced, but I don't really see that as a problem. I sometimes see that as a bit of an opportunity. You've got to try and make the sort of most of the time you've got left. I was thinking in my head, sort of visualising my own funeral, and what that would be like, and the sort of things, the music you want playing, and sort of, I talk to my friends about it sometimes, and they're saying, well, would a lot of people come? And we're like, well, I'd like to think so, but you're never quite sure, what it turned out to be. But you realise that people at the funerals, they never talk about jobs or their careers or those sort of things. They always talk about what sort of what their impact was, what they achieved, in terms of themselves, but also their relationships. It's the funny stories that matter, essentially the things that they've sort of done that people remember. That's what kind of lingers on, and I think that's what your kind of little legacy is. So I would like to be remembered for somebody who was a good bloke and sort of well liked, and I guess, tried to make the very best of a bad situation.